Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. More and more are talking about AI. Been around for a few years. Actually, it's been around for a long time, but in the mainstream, just a couple of years. And there's a lot of fear going along with that. How do you regulate AI? How do you ensure things aren't being copied that shouldn't be? What about it taking over jobs? All of that and more, we're going to look at today with somebody who coaches executives, individuals, business owners all the time on many different aspects of business, including AI. And she joins us once again. Angela Doyle is on the program. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me back.
Good to have you back here. What's the name of your company? Share that again.
My company is Inoatar, inoatar.com, Inoatar.com.
I find it interesting. It's called Inoatar. It reminds me of Avatar, which reminds me of AI because a lot of times there's an avatar connected with an AI bot, which we'll talk about. We'll wend our way that direction soon enough. Why don't we start with COVID-19? Now that's the pandemic had a big play on industries and businesses, not only around the US, but also the globe. How do you feel it has affected businesses, and what's the COVID potential connection with AI?
It's a huge connection with AI. I think when COVID hit, there was a lot of different businesses, and you can see that in mid 2021. There was a Yelp economic impact report that came out that said over 200,000 businesses had permanently closed. And that was just mid 2021. So I think that when those businesses closed, they didn't have the infrastructure, they didn't have the ability and capability within that industry and their companies to be able to pivot to a remote environment and be able to manage their work and their processes and the people effectively, or their consumers for that matter. You know, how does the customer actually reach, and how does the customer coordinate what their needs are with the company? And because of that, what's happened, it's created a platform in which it accelerated digital transformation. And that also accelerated, AI transformation. And I think that's what we're dealing with right now. And Agile is important because Agile helps that mindset and the mindset change. So the people that were already being Agile from a mindset perspective, being able to pivot when they need to, and being able to work in a more collaborative, less siloed environment, that help them be able to do that. And it's like the foundations of an AI transformation.
What would you say some of the challenges that businesses are facing with AI? On the surface, it looks good. There's automation, certainly bots involved, in chatting with businesses. You're really talking to a bot. And eventually you could get a real representative online there at some point. But what do you think are some of the challenges businesses are facing?
I think there's a lot of data privacy that's a huge challenge. So we have privacy laws right now that, how do we protect the data? That's a huge challenge from a cybersecurity perspective as well. How do we protect our data from our company, our intellectual property, as well as how do we protect the data of our consumers, our customers, and our stakeholders? So I think that protection of data is one thing. And the other flip side of that coin is there's a lot of organizations, due to privacy laws too, that they don't have enough data to be able to implement an AI the way they would maybe want to or need to. So you got to have clean data to be able to implement more of an AI, so that AI model or that capability that you are implementing from an AI perspective, it has a way to learn. Okay. If you don't have the data, then the AI is probably not going to be able to learn, some of those, algorithms. And then we have AI ethics. What's the ethical part of implementing AI that's going to protect the data, that's going to help the companies be able to perform faster and be more competitive in this world and automate, but also be able to protect that data and those AI and reduce AI biases.
That's a big point you bring up there with the protection of data, because you're chatting with a bot. It might ask for some information. Where's it going? If it's a one-on-one encrypted communication with a service representative live, that's one thing. But when it's a bot, what are we doing with that? And certainly a lot of medical practices will answer questions, not medical questions, but basic stuff in a chat on their website. Is that HIPAA compliant? What if something gets breached? What if somebody shares something they shouldn't?
That's true.
Questions I never thought of until you brought them up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing with the bots. That just recently happened. There was a situation that happened with bots that was on the, national news, that some of these bots were programmed and the algorithms behind them were programmed, and it said it was a real person. It's talking to a child. It's telling them to do something that should not be ethically told. And I think that was on the news recently, just by, I think it was this week or last week.
Wow.
And they're facing legal ramifications for that.
Wow.
So I think that it's very dangerous. I understand people's fears, and I think that's a good thing that people have the fears. Because if we have fear, then we're able to make sure that we're cautious when we get on this AI gravy train, so to speak. And because everybody's hopping on this AI, everybody wants AI. But what makes more sense for your company? Not every AI capability may be cost effective, and it may be applicable to what you're doing or your customers. And maybe your customers do not want this particular way of talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're looking at chat bots, is there a human involved? And I really believe there has to be. There has to be some type of human connection involved. Even if we're doing machine learning, you can see, if you go to different stores, they're using robots to do inventory right now. And that has tremendously reduced the inventory response, the way they're doing inventory, from automation to collecting inventory, reducing the people that need to do the inventory. So now they're using a robot to identify the inventory and make that more credible and accurate. And they've seen a lot of good out of that. But at the same time, we have to look at some of these risks. And fear is a way of helping us to be able to set up some guardrails around the risks and around our AI implementation, and maybe even our AI roadmap, of how this is going to help us in our automation or be competitive in this world, so that we can implement something that's safe as well as faster delivery of business value to our customers.
I want to talk about the culture of businesses with AI in just a moment, but we're going to go to a call. Instant feedback, steve@gmail.com.
Hello?
One way to reach us. Yes. How you doing?
Hi, my name is Jeremy. Good afternoon. I'm just curious to know quickly, I've found out, that there's like a lot of drama going on with my employees, bottom line, and it's really affecting productivity. I'm not sure, what to do about it. Could you walk me through like how you can go about like team building?
Oh, we pivoted here. So we're going to straight out coaching from AI.
Right.
We'll be back to AI in just a moment. What do you think, Angela? Somebody, and Jeremy's dealing with that situation where there seems to be some dissension within his team to get everybody back on board.
Correct.
So, how many people are you talking about from your team? How big is your team?
8.
Eight people?
Yes.
And
Yes.
do you and so they're not in alignment, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, it's like drama, there's a drama going on.
So when you say drama, can you, give me an example of that drama? What do you mean by drama?
Issues going on, like even sometimes not understanding, or just people just getting like they're not very focused.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say
Um,
these are personal things, or is a gossip, office gossip behind
Yeah,
it?
yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, so something to that level. Correct. Yes.
Hmm.
so can you tell me a little bit about your business? Give me a little heads up about, what you do. What does your team do?
Well, pretty much, it's just like training, like it's like marketing, just contacting people and appointment setting for for a security alarm system.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So it sounds like it's a sales team and you have a security alarm company, right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. And you've got about 8 people on the team, and there seem to
On
be,
board. Yeah.
okay, and they're not aligned. And
Correct.
so my question would be, do you have any idea why they're not aligned? Or why there seems to be this, from your perspective?
I know. I'm gonna probably say that they're like slacking a little bit. Not 100% there. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have their mind elsewhere with drama and stuff like that in their personal lives.
Mm-hmm. So,
Just,
what
just,
about,
just basically, how to walk through like how we like team building it. Like how would I be able to go about getting their mind off of that, and I'm more concerned about the dollar figures.
mm-hmm.
How would you do that, Angela, where you want to bring people together?
Okay.
Team building is a term used a lot, where it's, one event where everybody's working together for a common goal, try to bring them together. Um,
Mhm.
do those things actually work?
Yeah, they do fantastic. We do
Wow.
this every quarter.
Wow.
Every single quarter, and you can call it team building. I think it is a little bit of team building because we get to, people are flying in from every quarter. We do quarterly planning together. And as we
All
do
right.
quarterly planning, we understand where the bottlenecks are, where the situations might be that are dependencies, where the risks may be. And we also talk as a team as how they're getting along, what's going on in their lives that might be impacting, the performance. And how can we as a team synergize together and swarm to be able to help each other out?
Hmm.
Wow. Oh my, you hit it on the nose. Wow. Thank you very much. I'm going to use that to my advantage.
You know what I'm wondering too, and I just want to drop this in here. Um, I'm on the board of a nonprofit, and they had
Uh,
a retreat a few months ago, and I'm like, I'll just go, whatever, you know. I don't know how impactful it was going to be, and they said, yeah, before you go, we want everybody to do a strength assessment test. And I was like, all right, so go online 30 minutes, answer rapid fire questions to find out what your strengths are. I didn't really put a lot of stock into it. I was like laying in bed, half asleep. Let me get this done because the meeting's tomorrow. And wow, like what I learned in terms of what my strengths are, what I didn't realize some of the strengths are, and it also verified what I knew. Number one strength was communication. Okay, I've been doing that forever. But it identified some other things. And then they had an expert come in to talk about the strengths. And it kind of brought everybody together. Like everybody was talking about it all at once. So, um, final thought here, maybe even for Jeremy, that, what do you think about those type of strength assessment tests as a way to start a dialogue with everybody?
Oh, I think that's great. And I think that and I've done that a lot with executives and their teams when they were having a lot of disconnect when it
Hmm.
comes to communication, understanding how to communicate to one another. So I'm a certified DISC trainer, instructor, and from the DISC assessment, it helps us determine one, what is our personality, and two, how do we actually get along with certain personalities?
Yeah.
What can we say, and how can we communicate more effectively? And it depends on, that particular personality. It also depends on, how they're receiving it. Because even though you're saying the same thing, but the next person is not receiving it, then you're not really communicating, right? So being able to understand their language and their listening language and being able to communicate in a way that's effective that's a positive. So I think that could be very effective for them as well.
Yeah. And what I liked about the strength assessment test was it wasn't just for the business. Like I had my own personal takeaway. So, and they paid for it. It wasn't a lot of money, 49 bucks per person. But I had things I took away from that. One of them was I'm usually the person that calls everybody else out and says, "Yeah, you realize you're an empath. You're taking on a lot. You realize, guess what my number two strength was? Empath." And I figured, yeah, it's probably, this 34 strengths. I figured, top 15, somewhere in there. Had no idea I was number two as my strength as an empath. But it gives me it gives me some background into myself as to where I need to be careful, in taking on things. And so let's go back to AI now. Now that we've worked with Jeremy, how about the fears of AI within company cultures? What are we worried about? What are we fearing?
I think a lot of companies are one fearing the data, because that's a huge
Sure.
data breaches are very huge right now. Cybersecurity may not have the infrastructure, enough cybersecurity around some of their intellectual property or from a customer's perspective and how they're interfacing with the customer. And then the other thing is, I think they're afraid of displacement, job displacement. We implement
Mm,
AI, then what's going to happen to our jobs?
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Even, somebody who's a graphic designer, you can do a lot of stuff with AI. So there's some fear there. Well, they're not going to need me as a graphic designer because you can type in what you need and it's getting better. I got to say it's not perfect,
mhm.
but it is getting better. Um, we talked about the risks of AI within businesses. How can businesses minimize risks of using AI by maximizing the benefits that come from it?
Well, I think, identifying the risks, I think that's not putting your head in the sand and saying there's no risk. I don't believe in that. I think we
Sure.
have to be objective and understand that we need to be transparent, provide that visibility across the organization, not just at the top level, but at the bottom level too, so that we have an understanding of why we're doing AI, what is the reasoning that we're doing AI, maybe do an initial assessment so that we can determine where are the areas that would benefit from AI from our organization. And then I don't believe in doing an all-out AI transformation for the whole organization. I think it's important that we develop case studies along the way, and we develop pilots, just like we do in an Agile transformation. Where is the areas in the bottlenecks within the organization that could benefit AI the most? And then we determine, maybe it's two, maybe it's three pilots that we work on, and then we collect the data of how it's implemented maybe a faster delivery pipeline. Maybe they've reduced their gaps or their delays by a certain percentage,
Mm,
or we've increased customer satisfaction or NPS scores, from this point to, 50% to 80 or 90%, how fast are we delivering, or we've increased our competitiveness within the industry. So where do you need to implement AI? I think that's the big question. What's going to be the best benefit? And then in a long term, what does that roadmap look like?
mm. You know what I've noticed? There's more transparency in companies, especially online. Like back in the day, and I'm talking maybe 5 years ago, you would do a chat with a company and you're kind of detecting that this is not a real person. Now it clearly says bot. It's so you know what you're dealing with. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get your questions answered. Um, it's gotten a lot better, but yeah, there's still a lot of ways that we have to go to get a little more perfection there. What are your we're almost out of time here. What do you want people to know about AI? Companies, CEOs about taking things to the next level using AI.
I think it's good to have some fear. I think that's healthy. actually to have a little bit of fear and reservation so that you can take some time to really slow these thoughts down and be able to really think about why you want AI and what type of AI you want. There's a lot of different AIs. There's machine learning. Artificial intelligence is a huge umbrella, and it has a lot of different natural language processing, chatbots, robots. What's going to be more effective for your company and your products and services that you deliver? Amazon uses robots for inventory and stocking. They do that, and it's quite effective. But you have also doctors that are using and surgeons that are using it right now to identify certain cancers. So those are the good benefits. Those are happening, and they're identifying them extremely quickly. Like, and I don't remember the percentage of this, but I think it's at least 20% quicker than they would normally do in a cancer situation, that they would have to identify that cancer cell. So surgeries and robotic surgeries that are happening. So it's very more precise, it's less invasive. I think that looking at all the benefits of AI also, and weighing in from the benefits versus the fears, allows us to help alleviate the fears. And the other thing is AI education. Not implementing something without educating your people is a disaster. So they just create that fear, that creates an emotion, and that allows us to see some behaviors that may not be, beneficial for the company, for that matter. So learning how to do this in a more meticulous way, and maybe a more incremental and iterative way, so it's not all in one.
What I'm hearing here today, Angela, is there's so many great benefits to AI, but the one that we need to keep an eye on, or maybe perfect, is the data. Data protection.
Data protection and AI biases, because that's what's going on too. When the AI is created, you want to make sure that it's created in a more inclusive manner, and that it doesn't state, well, you are talking to a real person. No, I think that's unethical. So you have to make sure there's guardrails. Maybe there's an AI task force that you set up, that there is a governance, there's regulations that are set up, there's cybersecurity that's set up so that we can implement those protocols prior to any incident happening.
And I'd like to add that when the customer is using or forced to use AI, be it a bot or whatever it is, there's always an opportunity to connect with a human.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's important. That is very much important.
There may be many steps to get to that human, but at least, it would be available. Tell us about your company. How do we engage you? Let's say somebody has a company, corporation, a CEO, a C-level executive, and they're looking for some guidance. They want to take things to the next level. How do they reach out to you?
Oh, you can find me at Inoatar.com, and that's my team. And you can also find me online as well. I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm also mainly it's Inoatar.com. So that's where you could find me.
Yeah. And by the way, that's Inoatar.com. Go to the website, dial a number, you'll get a human. Yeah. Great having you on today. Love the insight that you provide, and looking forward next time we talk.
Thank you. Me too. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.